Welcome in, everyone, to the Hoops Frenzy podcast. I'm your host, Dean Holsworth, along with Andy McDonald, and we are talking boys and girls basketball. Andy, we've been away the last couple of weeks. How's it been going?
It's been great. Can't complain. You start getting to this time of the year, start usually getting really, really busy with basketball, and I've been able to get out and see a lot more games over the past few weeks. I feel like I have a really, really good idea of who's definitely competing here towards the end of the season to be one of those teams that we'll be looking for in East Lansing towards the end. But, yeah, overall, life-wise, can't complain. Just the same old, working. Work never stops.
Yep. For me, work coaching, as we kind of talked about before we came on, 2.5 weeks left in the regular season, so we're winding down, getting ready for March Madness, which obviously starts now at the end of February with the boys being moved up.
Definitely, for sure. That's always, again, just the best time of the year to be paying attention to it. And right now we got a few teams on this side of the state. They were able to compete against some other teams from the other side of the state, and they've looked pretty good. So I definitely think it's a good time of the year.
Yeah. Before we talk about some of the talent in the West Michigan area, let's kind of give props and a shout out to Camden Thompson from Whitehall. He last week he became the school's all-time leading scorer with 1,675 points. He passed Don Baker Monette, who was a 1997 alumni, who had 1,673 career points. And also, Cam's, I think it's coming up maybe this week, or he's getting his his jersey retired while already in school. I know you've seen Cam. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a reason he's got the Division I commitment that he does have. He's a great basketball player. He is really good whenever he's got it in his hands. He's good at getting to the rim. It doesn't matter what kind of double teams he draws. He still finds a way to get it done. So Cam's been a lot of fun to watch. I think he would tell you that the other night at Rockford he didn't have his best night. That was the first time I was able to see him this season. I've seen him in past seasons. He's a great basketball player, but Rockford's one of those teams that's really, really tough to go against. But just an awesome feature for him to have. I mean, it's not often you hear about players getting retired in high school. I feel like it's almost like happens more so in college and the pros because it feels like they just think about it more. It really takes a lot to get retired in high school. You probably have to play varsity more than 2 seasons. Like you almost have to play it since you were a freshman or something like that, just because obviously your name becomes a staple at that point. So awesome for Cam, happy for him. Actually did talk to him a little bit when they came out of the locker room. He wasn't happy with the way that the game was going from the other night against Rockford, but overall in good spirits. Whitehall's got a pretty good team, and a lot of it's because of him. Yeah,
1,600 points. Surpassing 1,600 points is a lot. Most kids do that, being on the varsity for 4 years. And he's obviously had a great career on the basketball court and on the football field as well. Mm-hmm. And now he's taking his talents to Western Michigan next year.
No doubt.
Speaking of Rockford, they are ranked number 1 right now in boys and girls. Yeah. And, they always have a knack of kind of shutting down the other team's best player. So it kind of doesn't surprise me that you said that about Rockford kind of putting the clamps on Cam that night en route to a double-digit win. Rockford boys.
You could definitely tell they knew who Cam Thompson was because their crowd every time he touched it was like obnoxious, making weird noises, I think just to throw him off a little bit. And those players fed off of it every time they got a steal from him or anything like that. I mean, just the fact they played that well against Whitehall, a team that's ranked, relatively high in the state.
Yep.
They really proved a point. They proved a point to me. I wouldn't have told you coming into the season that I would have thought that their men's basketball team was going to be that good because I don't really remember any years that I've been here covering it that they've been like near the top or like.
Yep.
I mean, they have won state championships in the past, but it just seems like it's not an every season thing. So I got the chance to finally watch them in person. I haven't all season. It was actually just on Monday night against Whitehall. I expected that game to be close, but wow, they got a couple kids that can dribble it, they can get to the basket, and they really can contest it. Doesn't matter where it's at in the floor. They can shoot the 3-pointer like nobody else in the state. So it makes sense why they're ranked that way. They're a team that when they get rolling, they're going to go on a run really quick on you, and they've been able to do that so far this year plenty of times.
Yeah, they're very versatile, very balanced. Obviously, they have the freshman Eli Wolf, but they have a lot of complementary players as well to kind of go with that. And like you said, obviously coaching boys basketball at Tri-Union, I don't get to see a lot of boys basketball. Mm-hmm. When I coached at Granville, I got to see a lot of girls basketball, and the Rockford girls is a program that has always shown the ability to shoot the 3-point shot.
No doubt.
Consistently, 5, 6, 7 girls knocking down that shot. What a great weapon to have.
For sure, and not a surprise the girls team is at the top of the rankings there. It seems like every year in, year out, they're competitive. I would be surprised if I'm not seeing them again in East Lansing. So
Yep.
they kind of write the story themselves. They are always competitive, and they always have. They've had a couple of athletes in that team that have been around since they were freshmen that I'm sure are doing well for them this season. I haven't been able to cover the girls team yet for Rockford this year, but they've been good from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, undefeated in the red. They had a big win against Grand Haven, so they swept Grand Haven, who is also one of the top teams in the area this year. So they kind of got a stranglehold on the OK Reds so far, with Grand Haven sitting there in second place. But yeah, let's go back to the boys. Also in Division One, we have Muskegon. Correct me if I'm not. Muskegon had a really big win the other night.
No, they did. I'm trying to remember who it was against too. I can check that for you real quick.
Apologize, we should know
But
that.
yeah, definitely should. But I haven't really got the chance to cover Muskegon. They played on Saturday night in that tournament. I didn't cover that game. I covered the Northview against Orchard Lake St. Mary.
Oh,
and then
okay.
I covered
No Trey McKinney that game.
Yeah, no
right?
Trey, he was there. He was in the building.
He was. He's hurt.
He was hurt. It's his wrist apparently.
Okay.
I mean, I no idea how I heard from a couple people there that he was really, really close to returning.
Okay.
Not gonna mark that as credible, but
Yeah.
I mean it seems like he was fine. He was under the basket, giving guys high fives, whatever it is. Obviously, He knows he's got a pretty good future coming.
Yes.
So
You don't want to risk anything.
it's all good. I mean, Kobe Buffkin was a really good player in the state a couple of years ago, and he had a foot injury that I feel like towards the end of the season he probably would tell you he could have came back from.
Yeah.
And he knows what his future is ahead, and if you have any chance of re-aggravating it, sometimes you choose to not do that. I'm not saying this is what Trey McKinney's doing, but it seemed like maybe he could play. I mean, if he truly wasn't 90%, I'm sure he could have played.
Right.
But why would you risk that, going forward in a game like that? As for that game, Northview was competitive as always, and I've mentioned it multiple times in this podcast. I love how Chana just schedules these games that challenge them because it's going to benefit them so well down the stretch. They've lost a few heartbreakers this year, and this was another one. They lost 49-48.
Yep.
But it was a really, really good game all the way through. Just came down to the couple last possessions, and Northview couldn't get the bucket to fall at the end when they had the chance. But again, just another good effort. They rebounded really well last night against Wyoming, who does have some pretty good kids in that team. So it was good to see them come out and play the way that they did. Because I know how much it means to players like Cam Ryans and Brady Schwartz and stuff. They want to go out with a bang. They've been a huge part of that Northview program, like building itself up and becoming better. Grand Rapids Christian, who doesn't have the best record, but a lot of people in the state still have them ranked in like around the 25 mark, 24 mark.
Yeah. Eric Taylor, great coach.
Yes, great coach. I actually had a chance to talk to him a little bit after that game. He wouldn't really say a lot to me about it because if you were to ask my humble opinion, and I appreciate all the refs in this league. That was a tough situation for them.
They lost in overtime, correct?
Yeah, it felt like they got absolutely hosed. It came down to the end, and it was like a 10-point game. And Cass Tech, they had the lead with like 5 minutes to go by about 10.
Cass Tech did.
Yeah, Cass Tech did, and they tried to dribble out the clock. Like it forced a timeout from Eric. He calls the timeout, right?
Okay.
It's like he's like, we gotta talk about this, how we're going to defend this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's to be a little more aggressive. They forced so many turnovers that by the time there was a minute left in the game, they got a crazy and one, places going nuts, and they took the lead.
Oh, wow.
So they make a free throw, and then Cass Tech comes down, runs almost a full possession, doesn't get a bucket. I'm only explaining this play by play because it's actually this exciting at the end.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So he makes, they make a couple free throws, they end up getting up by 5. So it feels like with less than a minute left, this game's over.
Yeah.
Cass Tech runs down to their credit, gets a really quick corner three, drills it. There's 1.9 seconds left, right? So you're thinking this.
Grand Rapids Christian's up 3 or 2?
They're up 2 because they just made that 3 in the corner.
Okay.
You're thinking this game is over. Now, this is where I had a really big issue because I was pretty positive of it because they had just called a timeout a possession before Cass Tech had, like after a free throw went through for Grand Rapids Christian, they called a timeout. And it was their timeout. I saw them call a timeout. There was only one left on the board. The scoreboard never took it off. So this kid tries to inbound from the corner. Well, first off, Grand Rapids Christian tries to inbound. They turn it over. They probably should have thrown it to like center court, in my opinion, something like that. With 1.9 seconds left, even if it is a turnover, they're not going to get a good shot.
Throw it down, throw it up, let it get tipped, game over.
That's it. It's the end of the game. Instead, they try to inbound it by the sideline, and it gets turned over to Cass Tech. They have to inbound from the corner, which is a really, really tough spot to do it at. Kid tries to inbound the ball, but he doesn't find anybody open, so he calls a timeout. And the Grand Rapids Christian bench is going nuts because they believe they had no timeouts left. Should have been a technical foul. They should have got free throws. They did not call it. So they get it back, they get it inbounded, and Graham's Christian has a foul to give. Clearly fouls the kid in the floor. I watched it back on my camera. Like, again, not trying to hate the officials too much, but I watched it back. I think they would probably agree with me.
Did they call it a shooting foul?
They called it a shooting foul, and they called it from 3. And it looked like the kid was, like, leaning in from, like,
Come on.
way past it. He only makes 2 free throws. The game does go to overtime, but, Cass Tech went on, like, a 17-2 run.
Yeah, so.
If you were going to ask me who was probably the better team, I'm going to tell you Cass Tech. But what Graham's Christian did was so impressive. To take that lead in the last 5 minutes when a team was clearly trying to kill the clock until the game got close. I was so impressed with the turnovers they were creating and how they got back in front. Everything else said a lot about those kids. I feel bad they lost the game that way. It was a really, really tough way to lose. But,
that's unfortunate.
The point being is I'm talking about 2 games right now that were really good, and Muskegon, who also had a big win. Again, trying to figure out who that was over. I love that tournament. I love how they do that and they make those matchups because – all those games were so entertaining. The place was packed. You couldn't find a place to pack. I barely could in a media car.
Yeah.
It fills up the gym. A lot of people go to it, and it's really, really awesome to see. So hope they keep doing that because those games were a lot of fun to be a part of, and the people at Aquinas were great to me. So I really enjoyed it, and I hope they keep doing it. But, felt tough loss for both Grand Rapids Christian and Northview, but Grand Rapids Christians was a really tough loss. When you think about it, but
we've kind of talked about that a little bit this year. How it's been more so than previous years, where the East Side and West Side are coming together on a Saturday.
They beat Port Huron.
Is
who they beat. And they are a good team. They're 11-4, so that's a big win.
Yeah.
Anytime you get a win against a team from down there, it feels pretty good.
Yeah. As I was saying, East Side West Side kind of coming together. On a Saturday, it seems to be more so than any year I remember of that happening. Almost every weekend you can go someplace, whether it's Aquinas or I think we had games at the Old South Christian, either Davenport, like wherever the games have been. East Kentwood hosted a big one, and like you said, it's a great chance for schools to kind of see where they measure up right against the other side of the state, because once they get to the quarters and the semis and the finals, that's who they're going to be facing.
It makes you a better team later in the season, even if you lose, even if you get smoked. Like, it still teaches you a lesson, like at that point in the season, that you're going to have going on later in the season. And who knows, you might meet one of those teams too if they're in your division.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely important.
Yeah.
But, one thing I want to mention too, just out of teams we're talking about, Greenville's been having a heck of a season.
Yeah.
But to Allendale's credit, they did give them their first loss the other night.
I saw that.
And that was surprising. I kind of came into that game thinking there was absolutely no way with how Greenville's been. And they have a lot of kids that can shoot the ball, shoot the 3. And they've been able to do it all year, and they're really, really good in transition. The few games that I've covered them. But Allendale did a great job shutting that down. They didn't give them any easy buckets. And they had a couple kids that had great nights, and they were able to win that game 67-61. But either way, what a season for Greenville.
Yeah, we talked about them last week a little bit, the boys and girls programs over there.
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see. I don't remember the last time I saw – that they're on a historic season. I don't know the last time they went undefeated at this point in the season. I know that it's been a long time. So
yeah, we'll have to check that as we get in a couple weeks. We'll start doing kind of district previews. Yeah, and Andy and I are going to kind of predict, who we think is going to come out of each district and who can make a run, and so in a couple weeks it's going to be really fun for that. Mm-hmm. Division 2, Unity Christian. Flint Powers Catholic is obviously one of the top teams in the state right now in these rankings that I have, but Hudsonville Unity Christian is number 2, 16-1. Right now, having just a phenomenal season.
They've been great. The couple of games I got to cover them, they've been really, really good. And I think it was against Forest Hill Central a couple weeks ago. I got a chance to cover them, and I expected that game to be a lot closer. It was not. Unity did really well, beat them, and then they also played against Byron Center. That was a game that I think that people expected that game to be a lot closer. And I was really impressed the way that Unity responded, because Byron Center came out of the locker room. They were down by, I think it was 13, and they went on a 17-0 run, out of the locker room. And I was like, okay, here's the Byron Center team that people have told me about.
Yeah.
And they looked really, really good, but to Unity's credit, they were able to win that game by 12. So it shows that they have a really good coach over there and a team that's tight-knit. Every year they have the right kind of program, because when things start going that way and fumbling the wrong way, usually in a high school game, sometimes it doesn't come back to you. So to see them be able to rebound and win by 12 after letting it run like that at home, place was silent. It was really, really cool to see them come out of a timeout and just take the game back over.
Do you remember did we cover the Byron Center Hudsonville game last night?
I was not there, so
okay.
I did not cover that one. No,
okay.
I had Wyoming and Northview, and then I covered that Greenville game.
Byron Center's another team that's really scheduled tough this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they have 5 losses right now, and maybe 6 right now. And they've got
they
such
play
a
good
great
teams.
start, but they play really good teams, and I think that will be definitely a team to watch.
No, there's a lot of good teams in our area this year that are going to be competitive, I think, with anybody in the state. So it's going to only get more exciting.
Yep.
While we're on the Byron Center note, I do want to bring it up for people that do pay attention to hockey. I did cover a Byron Center hockey game finally. And I was kind of wondering with their record, like if they were as good as they won 9-1 against Reese Puffer last night, and Reese Puffer's always a team that's like respectable in hockey.
Yep.
So to see them do that, I mean, they had a player steal it from the goalie on their PK and score a goal. Like they just played fast, they play hard. I think that program is going nowhere but up right now.
Yes.
So I would still expect to see them making a run towards the finals in Detroit.
I'll hit on this real quick too. Granville had a big overtime win against Forest Hills Central.
I did see that
last night. So that was a good win for Granville. They were conference champs, and they're playing good hockey too.
East Grand Rapids also got another 3-2 win last night.
Yep.
They're staying towards the top. So we got some teams that'll definitely be competing. It's always tough when you get down there. A lot of those schools are built for it.
It is really, really good teams.
I do think that we still have a few teams around here that are definitely worth paying attention to, and those ones we just mentioned are definitely them.
Yep, definitely. All right, Division 3, we do not have any teams that are currently ranked. Division 4, Tri-Unity is ranked number 1 in the state, and we had a really good win against Schoolcraft on Monday night. It was kind of a rescheduled game from a postponement from the snow and ice a couple weeks ago, and you talk about 2 really quality teams, and you've been to Tri-Unity and the atmosphere of some of our games that we've had, and it's been so good. And the Schoolcraft team, like, they are big, they can shoot the 3, 1-point game at the half, and we had a great second half and ended up winning by 13. But as far as for Tri-Unity, that was a great confidence boost kind of going forward, and I believe that we have the ability to make another run just by watching the defense that we played. Like 37 points we gave up to a really good Schoolcraft team. Yeah, it's been fun.
No, I'll take away any bias that you believe from yourself.
Little bias,
because
yes.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you guys are that good. It's not like it's anything new though. It's every season that they're competitive, and I know this is it for Mark, but he every year has his team playing the right way, and all the games I've seen they play at both ends of the floor the same way, same kind of intensity. So it's just a typical Mark Keeler team, and maybe they don't have some of the guys. Like, I'll never forget Brady Titus. That was one of my favorite players to watch that he ever had. Maybe they don't have that guy this year. That he dropped 30 or 40 in that state final game. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have that, but they definitely have. You guys have a good team, players that play together. It's kind of what you want sometimes. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch Tri-Unity play.
Yes. Hey, Andy, let's turn to the girls real quick.
Sure.
Some teams we already kind of mentioned Rockford. They only have 1 loss on the season. West Catholic, another good season. We kind of talked about them last week. Grand Haven, 2 of their 3 losses are against Rockford. And South Christian girls are playing really well, 13-2. And Holland Christian girls are also having a remarkable season too.
Yeah, I got the chance to watch West Catholic finally. And until Alicia Dykstra graduates, they're going to be competitive in that division. She's a really, really good basketball player, and they have a lot of role pieces back that were, groomed since they were freshmen to be where they're at right now. So they look pretty good so far. I haven't got the chance to watch Grand Haven play yet, so I don't really have too much on them as far as an opinion of playing. But it doesn't surprise me that they're up there because they have had a lot of good seasons recently. So good to see that. And South Christian, it seems like in every sport, doesn't really matter. They're able to find a way to be competitive. So on the boys' side for South Christian, they did have a really big win over Catholic Central that I did see. It was a pretty competitive game. Catholic was up by, I think it was up like 8 or 9 at halftime.
Okay.
And they found a way to win that game by double digits. So it's impressive. Catholic Central doesn't have the record maybe they've had in past years, but they're still ranked in the top 25 in a lot of rankings. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think we've hit most of the teams that we're going to hit. Anything else about hockey?
No, that's all I got.
Obviously, that's kind of coming to the.
The Red
what
Wings
was
are playing
yesterday?
really
Was that
good.
the tournament? Was that the conference tournament yesterday?
Yeah,
for hockey.
It is. It's already started.
And then regionals is coming up.
Yes, it starts really, really quick, and it sucks sometimes because the games start really early. Like that game that I went to yesterday started at 3:00.
Oh my!
So it sucks. It sucks for the students. Like
school gets out at 2:45.
Yeah, it's just I think it's an ice time thing. Like it's so hard to get.
Yeah.
They have these contracts or whatever they have with their home arenas.
Yeah.
And they have to play there, so it's like what are they gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
schedule. You can't schedule when other teams like Grand Valley have practice out at Georgetown Griffs or something like that. So they have to play when they play, and it's definitely tough for the fans. But still a lot of parents there, a lot of support. So it was a fun atmosphere to be in yesterday. But
Good.
yeah, Byron Center taking care of business. That's for sure.
Yep, one to watch. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, we'll be back in a couple of weeks to kind of give our district previews for the boys, and then we'll look ahead to the girls as well after that. So, all right, thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye.